Happy Friday night. It's first Friday of December. So I thought I'd do something a little fun, a little funny, uh, a little spin on the 12 days of Christmas and do the 12 days of data bad habits. Um, Something that is important for every data engineer to know and every aspiring data engineer to know. But live tonight on both YouTube and Facebook again. So super excited to be able to stream to both of you tonight. Um, Tonight we're going to go over these 12 days of bad habits. So let us get going here. So, introduction. Are you guilty of some of these bad habits? What do you think? Let me know down in the comments below if you think that you're guilty of some data bad habits that you may have picked up either just through schooling, through your own self-learning, whatever the case may be. But tonight I'm going to take a look at these 12 bad habits and what you could kind of do instead, what you could start doing to uh, change your bad habits that you've developed over the years. Um, so these, some of these 12 bad habits are huge errors in judgment. Some of them are, kind of sleepers, right? They don't seem so bad up front, but over time they really wreak havoc on your data ecosphere and can really cause some issues. So stick around to see how many that you relate to and what you could do to avoid them. In addition, I'm going to be taking some feedback from the audience as we go through this to, let me know as we're going through this, which ones really resonate with you and which ones maybe you think are missing from this list. Which SQL bad habits do you think that you've picked up or that you've seen people pick up over the years? So again, super excited to be here again tonight. Uh, Usually get pretty good participation, so I hope that we get some people. All right, wrong way. Let us get into it. I'm going to share my screen here. I'm going to be small. Huh. I wonder if I could change the size of this. I don't know. All right, we'll swap it back. Cool. Okay, so like I said, 12 bad habits. So again, let me know your guesses as to what might be coming up here for these 12 bad habits down in the comments below. What's the worst data engineering habit that you've seen or done yourself? We all pick up bad habits along the way through life, whether they're personal bad habits or data engineering bad habits. But we're going to go through some tonight. All right. Number one bad habit: ignoring data quality. This is something that we all do from time to time. Bad habit to definitely be aware of, because we have this concept in data engineering and in data in general of garbage in, garbage out, right? Bad data in, bad decisions out by your stakeholders and by your leadership. So if you're not validating your data, you're setting yourself and your company up for failure. It really is super important. So, as we're talking through these 12 data engineering bad habits, uh, you know, let me know which ones resonate with you, which ones you've seen people demonstrate. Let me know in the comments that, hey, I've seen this. Hey, uh, this is one I think you missed. Number two, and these are in no specific order, but number two, overcomplicating solutions. I've seen, I call this complication for complication's sake. And I see very intelligent, very smart, very tenured data engineers create these very elaborate solutions for what seem like sometimes a very complicated problem, when something more simple could be put into place. The problem with very elaborate and very complicated solutions is that they are very elaborate and complicated, which means that they're really hard to maintain. They have a tendency to be hard to read, hard to understand, especially as those tenured data engineers move on to greener pastures. You know, oftentimes they're not well documented, and they could be super hard to pick up for the next person. So overcomplicating solutions is a big one. That's why it's number two here. Um, and like I said, I call this complication for complication's sake. There's this concept overall in business of KISS, right? And that stands for keep it simple, stupid. And basically, it just means make things as simple and easy to understand for the next person and for your audience as you can. So again, simplicity, often wins here. Don't make things complicated just because you can. Number three goes hand in hand with number two there. Not documenting your work. Again, we're talking about the 12 data bad habits, and these could really go into programming as well. But not documenting your work is a big one. Again, if you resonate with any of these, if they have been, bad habits that you've demonstrated or seen people demonstrate, let me know in the comments. But not documenting your work really goes well with number two. No one wants to unravel the complex mystery of what you thought, including yourself, when you come back to it in 6 months or a year from now, right? Nobody wants to come back and off how many, I can't tell you how many times over the years that I've looked back at something that I did a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, and thought, oh my God, I didn't know what the hell I was doing in this case. And gone back and been able to refactor it and make it so much simpler, so much shorter. Um, and going back and documenting what I did, because oftentimes you go back and look at things, even if you're the one that did it, and you're like, I don't have any clue. Uh, so there's so many things that have happened between now and then. It's a lot, right? So it's impossible to remember a year, 2 years down the line. So document your work. You don't have to be explicit, every line that you're commenting, but especially if you're having to come up with a creative solution, make sure that you're documenting why you did it and what went into those decisions. So let's move on to number four. Number four, lack of testing. Do not deploy something. Don't put something out there that without testing it. It really is like jumping out of a plane without checking your parachute. This goes into don't test in production. Don't um, don't move something from dev to production without testing it. Make sure that you're testing it. Make sure that the results that you're getting out of it match the results that you expect to get out of it. Make sure that your data that's flowing into it from your source looks like the data that is in your target. um, and check in with your stakeholders, check in with your data analysts that are creating the reporting, if you're not the one creating the reporting, and make sure that what they're getting is what they're expecting to get before you push it out into prod. uh, can't tell you how many times I've seen people do this over the years. um, can't tell you early on how many times I've done it. Or lack of testing. Make sure that you thoroughly test uh, your data pipelines, your uh, sprocs, which are your stored procedures, before you push them into production. Don't I put on here? Don't rely on a hope and a prayer. That it's sometimes easy to be like, okay, I gotta get this out quick, and you push it out, and then you spend the next 6 weeks going back and having to redo it. So don't rely on a hope and a prayer there. Number five, misusing it and over indexing. Misusing indexes and over indexing. We've talked about this before in our indexing video. in our optimization video, it, indexes are super powerful. They're great at creating efficiency in your queries. The problem is that you people have a tendency to over index. They think, oh, every column in here is useful, can be in a where statement or can be used for a join. That's not the case. That's never the case. Trust me. Um, Indexes are super powerful, but they're not magic. Again, you when you index, it creates, you know, an index. It creates something that's going to make your query more efficient, but it's going to increase the time that it takes to write data to that table. And so over-indexing causes an issue because of that. So don't over-index. Index only those columns that are absolutely worthy and need to be indexed, especially the ones that are going to be used in join criteria. Number 6, over relying on defaults. Don't over rely on defaults. Whether it's configurations or data types or resource allocation, don't just trust what the import tool has created. Don't trust you know, what the first 10, 20 lines are telling you to use for data types, especially. Um, those those data types are not optimized for your specific needs. They're not often enough to handle what's, over time going to be put into those fields. Uh, don't over rely on defaults. For example, I can't tell you how many times that, the first import of a file um, tells me that a field of a variable character of 50 is going to be enough when it's a name field, right? Name fields are notorious to be 100 characters, 300 characters, especially when they're names for businesses. I mean, some of those business names out there are huge. So don't rely on defaults. Make sure that you are um, adjusting those for the future. Make sure that they're going to be good enough, not just for the current import, but for all future imports. 7, ignoring security best practices. Oh my God. Um, Ignoring security best practices, leaving your data exposed, not securing your pipelines, is a surefire way to really um, have your data out there for the world to see. If you want, customer private information to get out, then ignore security best practices. So this is a surefire way to absolutely ruin not just your company's reputation, but your own reputation. um, it- this goes for not just the data, but your code as well. When you're writing Python scripts, when you're creating pipelines, don't use plain text for things like keys. Don't use plain text for things like usernames and passwords, or for API keys, things like that. You want to make sure that you're using things like a key vault, that you're using things that are, security best practices to secure that data and not expose it. I'll tell you a really quick story on this. I was working for a company and we were auditing the GitHub account, and and this was years ago before Git Guardian. Um, and we're auditing the Git account, and there were plain text API keys out on GitHub in the Python scripts. So doing that, you know, GitHub was secure to a point because it was the company GitHub, but man, that's a dangerous line to walk. You don't know when that something like that's going to get exposed, when somebody's replicating that GitHub repo to their local hard drive, and their computer is being exposed, being exposed somehow. And so don't ignore security best practices. Definitely don't put any type of security things in your code directly in your code that you are exposing anywhere. So, number 8, poor communication with stakeholders. There's a few of these in here that definitely go back to soft skills, and I know I harp on soft skills a lot, especially in these live sessions, but poor communication with stakeholders is a surefire bad habit, um, that people get in a habit of, not communicating with stakeholders, getting into a groove where they're knocking out ticket after ticket after ticket, and not spending that time with their stakeholders to really understand what it is that those tickets are about, what the end user's really going to be expecting, not understanding their needs, and you end up building data and solutions and reporting that that doesn't get used. So make sure you're communicating with your stakeholders. Sit down, talk to them, understand their pain points, understand, not just peel back the onion. This is a leadership concept, but and a troubleshooting concept. Peel back the onion, understand what those deeper layers are about, what they're really trying to get to. Ask why. If you've not asked why 3 or 4 times, then you've not peeled back that onion enough to really understand what the problem is that you're trying to solve with the solution you're trying to implement. Number 9, not automating repetitive tasks. Um, if you've done it once, you're probably going to do it again. Uh, but if you've done it twice, you're definitely going to do it again. So automate repetitive tasks where you can. As data engineers, as software engineers, as data analysts, even, and especially as data scientists, automate repetitive tasks. Make sure that you're not spinning your wheels by doing the same task over and over and over again. It's a big part of what we do is taking something that is being done manually and automating it, creating a schedule for data pulls, going out and writing Python scripts to do web scraping and get the data, instead of somebody going out and going to a website and manually typing it into an Excel file. If you're doing the same task over, if somebody in your company is doing the same task over and over again, you have failed at your job. And not only are they wasting their time, but you're wasting your time that could be spent on something that is much more valuable to themselves, to their company, and that they could learn something else. So that you could spend time learning something else that is much more interesting and fun than some manual or monotonous task that gets done over and over again. So again, as we go through these, if any of them resonate with you, I'd love to know. And if you think that any of them, we're missing any, then be sure to put those in the comments as well. So number 10, we're almost to the end here. And I thank you to those that are sticking around. Not automating repetitive tasks. I just repeated this one. What was number 10 supposed to be? Failure to optimize. 10 was supposed to be failure to optimize pipelines. I accidentally duplicated the one in the uh, PowerPoint that I did here. Okay, so failure to optimize pipelines was supposed to be 10, and it is slow pipelines. They don't scale well. If they're slow on your initial run, they're going to be slow down the line too, especially as your data continues to expand, get larger, volumes continue to increase. If your pipeline can't handle that growth, then it's not going to do you or your company any good. So make sure that you're writing efficient queries, make sure that you're creating efficient and optimized pipelines, make sure you're indexing where you can and where you need to, but not over indexing. Again, over indexing will definitely slow down your pipeline performance because your pipelines are writing data to those tables. So optimize your pipelines. Make sure that you have uh, eliminated or reduced any bottlenecks that may be occurring within your pipeline processes. Um, and that you have some type of process to evaluate and identify those bottlenecks that are occurring. Um, all right. Now let's go to number 11 here. Number 11, overlooking cloud costs. Oh my God, this one bites people in the ass all the time. Overlooking cloud costs. The cloud is not free. Uh, it may seem like this magical thing that's going to solve your problems, but ignoring cloud cost management will definitely bite you and can lead to some serious financial implications. Not implications, but implications. um, but I, especially when you're talking, like, you hear these horror stories about Snowflake, about Databricks, even about Azure, where people have these surprise, 10, 20, $50,000 bills at the end of a month because somebody created this very poorly optimized SQL script or Python, script or notebook in Databricks that has been processing and processing and processing. They didn't kill it, and it ran up the bill because that's what you're paying for in those cloud services are the processing. So don't overlook cloud costs. Make sure that you have things in place in those systems to alert you that, hey, there's something up. Your spend is going up dramatically. It's above what the average is. It's above what the normal is. At with Azure and AWS, you have resources that you could put stopgaps in place that will turn off things if they start incurring certain amounts of charges. Um, Cloud's not free. Make sure that you are absolutely paying attention to those cloud costs. So again, for those of you that have just joined, we're talking through the 12, and we're on the last one, but we're talking through the 12 data bad habits that people demonstrate. So number 12, focusing only on technical skills. Again, I know that I harp on soft skills all the time in these live sessions, and in my videos a lot, but soft skills are super important. Um, I, when I'm doing these kind of things, that soft skills is going to be in here. But things like communication, teamwork, troubleshooting, problem solving, eh, are just as important, if not more important, than the things like Python, SQL. Maybe not SQL, but but the understanding how to use ETL tools, being adaptable at you know transferring skills from one platform to another, and quickly picking up on new software that comes out. Those things are important. More important are these soft skills: being excited about continuous learning, being able to communicate what you know and what you've done in a very easy to understand manner to your stakeholders that may be very um, untechnical, very non-technical, and being able to take those things and explain it to those people. So make sure that you're not just focusing on um, your technical skills, but the soft skills as well. That's definitely a data engineering bad habit that people fall into. Uh, but yeah, make sure that you are doing that. So last one, last slide here, the end. How many of these bad habits have you seen on your teams? So, let me know. Hey, Parva. Um, so I'm gonna get to Parva's question here in a second, but I have a couple of questions for y'all too. How many of these data bad habits have you seen on your teams, and which one of these bad habits do you think is the hardest to avoid? Um, let me know down in the comments as well on that. But so Parva, welcome. Thank you. Thanks for coming. Uh, Parva is one of our regular viewers. Uh, they come every week, just about. Excited to have you here again, Parva. So Parva asks, thanks for the insightful session. Could you share some subtle behaviors or habits that managers value the most in great data engineers, and which often go unnoticed? So I think, uh, and I've heard other managers say that, and and I'm sorry, you hear me say this a lot, but uh, really that hunger, that eagerness to learn, and being easy to work with, not having a big ego, um, is are two big ones. Really, that uh, flexibility, there's certain things that are super important. Being able to adapt and be flexible when things change, not getting hung up in the fact that maybe a project gets postponed and you've done a lot of work on it, and being able to be agile and adjust and kind of move into that new project or that new fire drill that comes up. um, being um, Again, being adaptable, having that hunger and passion to learn new things, uh, being innovative. Those are things that managers really, being self sufficient and being able to kind of take a project and go off on your own without much direction, and working with your stakeholders without somebody having to kind of sit on your shoulder and make sure that you're doing it. Those behaviors, again, these are all soft skills, but those behaviors are really the ones that will take you far in your career, and the ones that if you demonstrate during an interview will really are going to be what gets you hired, right? If you could demonstrate that you are flexible, that you kind of roll with the punches, then those are the things that make a difference. Again, let me know in the comments what your questions are about, whether it be about the data engineering bad habits that we just talked through, or if you have questions about just general data engineering, like or Parva kind of it kind of straddles both sides of this, of the behaviors and the habits that you good habits and behaviors that you can demonstrate and gain as a data engineer. Let me know in the comments. But and Parva, I think some of these bad habits that I hit, the opposite of them are you know the good habits, the making sure that you're consistently documenting. You know, if you have something that says X plus one, you don't have to document that. We understand that X plus one is whatever the value is plus one. Um, but if you have something that's a little bit more elaborate, a little bit more complex, um, especially if you're creating, you know, um, business logic, make sure that you're documenting things like where that business logic came from, why the decision was made to do that calculation that way. um, if you're doing some data cleansing within some of your code, make sure if it's kind of abnormal or unique to that situation, that you're documenting why you did it and what caused you to do it that way, so that the next person that looks at it, or so that when you look at it a year down the line, you remember what happened that caused you to do those things. um, so, like I said, kind of the opposite of some of these bad behaviors, bad habits are the good habits that managers really look for in candidates. Um, and some of the things that go unnoticed, uh, that are good habits, are things like time management, right? It sometimes it's hard to uh, vocalize how well you work with your time management and how you manage your time with projects and things like that. Um, it could be hard to vocalize, and it could be taken for granted. Um, it Saying yes to everything is something that we get in the habit of, and especially as you know early on in your career, yeah, people have a habit of wanting to please their managers and their coworkers, and that's great, but uh, it creates some poor time management habits. So making sure that you uh, have those time management, develop those good time management habits early on, um, will take you far in your career and will make your career much easier. But they definitely often go unnoticed by the management uh, until it's long past too late. So thank you, Parvin. Great question. Great question. If anybody else has any questions, let me know in the comments. Happy to answer any questions that you may have. But really, this just says thank you for listening. So again, thank you for being here and listening to my rant about the 12 bad habits. Um, there's a couple other things I want to touch on too. For those of you that are still sticking around, be sure again, you know that I'm always open to any questions. So let me know what your questions, thoughts are down in the comments. I am using a new uh, streaming tool tonight. I've used it just once before, but I have these new cool things that I can turn on. Where is it at? Overlay. Look, I can put all the comments in there. I don't have to put them on here. So I do want to touch really quickly on this new thing that I found. It is called Upnotch. So what Upnotch is it's this really cool place, this really cool website that you could go on. You could create a profile if you are somebody that mentors others. If you are looking for a mentor, you could go on here and create a profile. If you are a mentor, you go on here, create a profile, and people can find you that are looking to be mentored. So it's free. There's no cost to it. I talked, the creator, the CEO of Upnotch reached out to me, and I may see if she could come on at some point and talk a little bit about Upnotch. But it's free, and it's a resource that aspiring data engineers or aspiring leaders or whatever your background or profession may be that you're looking to get into, you could go on here and look for a mentor. And again, it's free. There's no cost to it. It's not like coaching. So if you're looking for a mentor, whether it is a data mentor or a leadership mentor or whatever the case may be, just a professional mentor, then you go up here on here to Upnotch, just upnotch.com, and take a look at it and see if you could find one that matches up well with you and the times that you're available and the skills that you're looking to upnotch on. So wanted to be sure to talk a bit about that and just make sure that I shared that as well. But yeah, I ran across this week from another Western Governors University student that I started working with, and he showed me this and asked that I get on this, and so I did. So if you're looking for somebody to mentor you, this is a great resource to go out and and it's free. So awesome resource. I think it's relatively new, so there's not a ton of people on there, but there's definitely some resources if you're looking for somebody to mentor you, or if you're looking to mentor. It's a great resource to go out and put your information on there and help others. So that's what mentoring is all about. Again, any questions, any comments, any thoughts about the 12 data bad habits that we talked through? Let me know. Let me know. Let me know what bad habits you've seen people demonstrate. Uh, if you have questions about data engineering, drop them down in the comments, and we'll take a look and see what we could do. If you have anything from SQL questions to Python to interview questions, whatever you got. That's what I do these live sessions on Friday nights for. And for those of you that may be new, on Friday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern US time, uh, we do these live streams. So just to know, let you know a couple things that are coming up over the next couple weeks. Um, on Monday, I'm releasing a video where I did a brainstorming session with my Chat GBT buddy Lee. Uh, my I call my Chat GBT Lee when I talk to him, so that I don't have to call him Chat GBT. Um, but we brainstorm, you know, verbally back and forth using the advanced voice on ChatGPT. We brainstorm optimizing a complex SQL query live. I'm working the SQL query in Azure Data Studio on the screen while I'm talking to Lee and getting feedback from him, and he's telling me what to do. Um, so that's coming out on Monday for those of you that may be interested in that. And then in 2 weeks, on the 21st, I'm going to be talking to a guy from Australia that has one of our more recent subscribers that has offered to come on and talk to us about his transition from data analyst to data engineer. So I'm super excited about talking to him about that on the 21st, I think it is. Yeah. The 20th, on Friday night, the 20th, at 10 p.m. It's 1 p.m. his time the next day. And so he is living in the future in Australia. But he'll be talking to us about his personal transition from data analyst to data engineer. He's been a data engineer for about 8 months or 10 months now, and had been a data analyst for several years before that. So super excited to have him on um, and talk to him about that. Again, any questions, comments, thoughts, feedback, anything you'd like to see covered, let me know down in the comments in the chat. Happy to go through that with you. Again, we could even put the overlay of the chat in the screen now that I have just switched streaming platforms. Super excited about that. That's pretty neat. So yeah, let's see what else. I'm also got some feedback that people want to see a demo of GCP. So I am going to go out and start building a series on GCP. So Google Cloud, and and start working on that. Thanks for sharing earlier. Can you also share one specific behavior or practice that you believe instantly builds trust and credibility with managers? That's a hard one, right? Something that instantly is going to build that connection, that trust, that credibility with managers is, um, it's hard because sometimes it takes time, right? If you're talking about in an interview setting, you're not going to immediately necessarily build trust and credibility by doing anything other than being honest. Um, Probably if you could do one thing in an interview setting that instantly built trust and credibility, it would be to honestly and openly admit your failures or your shortcomings. I know that may sound um, kind of reverse, but it you wouldn't believe the respect that you're going to gain from a manager, from a hiring manager, if in the interview they ask you a question and you are upfront and honest and saying, I don't know. And then again, like I've talked about, turning around also saying, but I would be I'm really excited to be able to have the opportunity to learn that. I think that I could catch on really quick. I have started looking at these different training programs, or I went out to Pluralsight or to um, some of the online learning and found these trainings, and I'm going to take a look at those so that I could start ramping up before I get hired on. And that is something that will instantly you'll instantly start gaining credibility and trust with that hiring manager, with that company. Um, it, because hiring managers interview people all day long, sometimes day after day after day. They hear all the BS that people feed them, and they can tell the difference between somebody that really knows something and somebody that's just kind of blowing smoke. And so, being honest is often refreshing. Often, so many applicants are so nervous and anxious in interviews that they start making shit up, and not making stuff up and being honest will instantly start building that trust and credibility, because they know that you're going to be truthful. Great question. Thank you, Parva, for kind of redirecting me on that one. That's a great question. Again, if anybody else has any of those questions, let me know in the comments. How you build trust, how you uh, gain skills over the years. Again, I've been doing this for almost 25 years, doing data for 25 years. So if you have any questions about where we've come, where you think, if you want to know where I think we're going as we move into this AI uh, AI driven kind of environment, um, let me know. Let me know in the comments. Happy to answer any questions that you may have. Um, if you have any questions about my background or anything like that, happy to answer those as well. Um, and for those of you that may be new, we do these Friday nights, 10 p.m. Um, I also have a LinkedIn account, obviously, where I go out and put information on some articles. Have a couple articles on Medium as well, and then we also have a website where you could get access to the Gamble Data Sphere, which is slowly growing, starting to get more activity on. But basically, I've got a Discord channel out there. The link is both in the homepage of the YouTube account as well as on the Gamble Data Sphere page on our website, which is the gambledataengineering.com/contact. And you could go, or not slash contact, but slash services, the page with the um, Gamble Data Sphere. And within that, on those pages, you'll also see links to, we've got some blogs. We have a ton of wealth of information out on the website. And Dora's back. And sorry, I get excited when I see people that come back that are here week after week. Uh, y'all are awesome. So, anyways, on the website, you could also see the data challenges and that we do. Right now, we've got one that's running for November and December because December gets so crazy for people. I wanted to make sure I gave people time. Plus, it was middle of November before I got it out. So, Dora, I'm doing great. I'm doing awesome. How are you doing? Hope everybody's doing well after Thanksgiving and a holiday weekend and all the things going on in December that people get crazy with. Uh, I am super thankful for a new contract that I'm starting next week, and thankful for my continued partnership with one of my other consulting gigs. So, super excited to be working from home for the foreseeable future because the traffic's been so crazy and gas prices are just expensive. Plus, I drive a Jeep, and that's just super hard on gas. But yeah, let me know how you're doing in the comments, Dora. Hope you're doing well. You too, Parva. I love that you all are here so regularly. Really, thank you all so much. It means the world to me to have some people that come on, and I feel like I'm starting to develop a relationship with y'all that y'all come on here and talk to me. So I really do appreciate it. You all are pretty consistent, Parva and Dora, coming on here, and then we have Fancy that comes on pretty regularly. So we've got a few people that come on pretty regularly. Super excited about that. I really appreciate it, uh, especially as our community gets bigger. Good, good. So, are y'all into anything exciting over the next week? Hope. Can you suggest any book that will help improve as a data engineer? Um, yeah, I have lots of books, but the biggest one. So, I'll say that it depends. Let me see if I could. So, now I'm going to give a couple of suggestions here because there's a couple that I've carried throughout my career, and um, part of it is because sometimes it's just nice to have your hands on something for reference. But these SQL Pocket Guides have been around forever, and they are always very helpful, especially because you could go in here and go to a certain thing like your date diff, and it will show you for all of the different flavors of SQL, all the different dialects of SQL, what the syntax is for that date diff. So these Pocket Guides are super helpful. And then again, on the same coin there, the Python Pocket Reference is good. I have. Hold on, I'm gonna grab a book. So this Python programming, if you're looking to learn Python, um, this Python programming book is specific for data people, because, and I'll say that Python for data people is very different than Python for programmers, um, because we use Python differently. So this Python programming is specific for data science, data analysts, and data engineers. And so that's a great reference for those of you that may be looking for a more hard book to read. But honestly, for me in my career, one of my favorite books, I'm bringing it up on Amazon because I only have it on my Kindle, but is the I have it on my Kindle, and it is Ralph Kimball that is the author of it. But Ralph Kimball, for those of you that don't know, is like the father of data engineering. He's the one that kind of came up with the star schema. For those of you that don't know what star schema is, be sure you go and check out that video. But it is just a modeling concept. Trying to pull it up on Amazon. But it's a data modeling concept where you split things out into fact tables and dimension tables, and it is Ralph Kimball. Maybe I should just go to my Kindle and pull it up. But that book, Ralph Kimball, look up Ralph Kimball. I'll put the link down in the comments when I find it here in a second. Here it is, the Data Warehouse Toolkit. Can I just do this again? Yeah. So it's this book, this Data Warehouse Toolkit. Again, I have it on Kindle, but so the Kindle, like you see, I could just do read now. But so this Data Warehouse Toolkit, again, Ralph Kimball. um, Margie Ross. It is super interactive. It's a great book. Um, so if you're looking to learn more about data modeling and data warehousing, um, Ralph Kimball again is the kind of the father of data engineering and data warehousing. So great book, really interactive. If you get it, you could download some additional resources so that you could do some of the practice stuff in it. Um, it's really a great book, and I'll let me grab a link here. We'll put it down in here. And then the Python programming. I think there's a new edition out, so it looks a little different than the one that I have. This is Oliver Sorensen. Oh no, there it is. Crash Guide. Oh no, it is out of print. So I think there's a newer version. Is it this one? Yeah. So again, it looks very different than it did. I like that. I like that page better. It's also out of print. I don't know. I thought it was a good book. This one maybe. I'll see if I can find a better link for it. But I love it. Maybe people didn't love it enough, and it's out of Oliver Sorensen. Getting to work with data. This one's also Oliver, and I like his style and when he's teaching in these books. So this one's probably good too. So I'll put this link down in the comments. So those are some good books. Again, let me know what you think, and let me know if you've got any other questions. Great questions. Again, I love that you all jump on. I really do appreciate those of you that jump on Friday nights with me and ask great questions. So if anybody has any other great questions, any other questions at all, no question's a bad question, drop it in the chat. Happy to talk through whatever you got out there. Again, we're broadcasting live today on both Facebook and YouTube. So whether you're on Facebook or YouTube, let me know. I'm interested to know kind of where you're coming from. I assume that Dora and Parva are both coming from YouTube. We've got a couple of other people out there. Let me know where you're coming from so that I know if it's worth it for me to continue to broadcast to Facebook. I don't often get much interaction on Facebook, so let me know. I'm curious to find out. And again, any specific any data engineering questions, let me know in the comments. Happy to answer anything. As we approach Christmas, speaking of, and you're looking for, there's been, this past weekend, there were a bunch of great deals out there. I think that some of those deals are still going on for things like the, 50% off of things like, I think Pluralsight had a good 50% off deal for annual subscription if you're looking for something to go out and do some learning on. Pluralsight. Uh, there were, a couple of other things. Code Academy, I think, was 50% off. Um, Here, it's save 40 right now. You can go and, these are not anything that I make on money off of or anything, but I just by Googling here. But Pluralsight is 40% off. So, um, so that's a great resource as well. Um, Pluralsight's great. Let's look if Code Academy is still. That's my account. Let's see if I could log out. Log out. Oh, maybe it wasn't Code Academy. Anyways, there were several learning platforms out there that had great deals over Black Friday and Cyber Monday, and I know that several of them were still going on through the week. Let me go back to me, and then because I put the links, I put some of the links in some of the descriptions of the videos that I posted this past week, just so that kind of get the word out, so that if you're looking for something like that, then you knew that there were some great deals out there, especially for something like Pluralsight that you don't real often see real great discounts on there, but when you do, it's good to grab them, um, especially for the annual subscription. Um, but yeah, any specific questions? Let me know. Again, Dora Parva, thank you for being on and asking questions. Um, awesome. Very cool. Yeah, absolutely. Go check it out. Um, it. Let me get this other link here. Let's see if it's still going on. Yeah. If anybody has any other questions or comments, suggestions, uh, let me know down in the comments as I kind of poke around here and see if I could find these other deals that I had found earlier in the week. Code Academy. It was 50% off. Let me see if this link still works. I thought it was Code Academy. Nope. Code Academy was 50% off. Doesn't look like it is anymore. But there's still definitely some, Pluralsight still 40% off. That data warehouse toolkit, I think, is still like that book is still like 32% off the hard, the paperback right now. If you're wanting an actual paper book, uh, yeah, you're welcome, Dora. Um, Honestly, my favorite Black Friday deal that I saw were I have these Beats headphones, and I love these. Uh, like these are my favorite because they go like on my ear and not just in my ear. And then, and I think it just probably switched to Bluetooth, but this way it doesn't fall off. The earbuds for me when I talk sometimes, like they fall out of my ear, and I'm always pushing them back in. But these, because they hook around my ear and they're wireless, they work great. Um, but those were like 40% off over Black Friday weekend. Um, but again, thank you all for jumping on. on a Friday night in December. Uh, we're getting close to right at an hour, just past an hour. If anybody has any other questions, I'm happy to hang out and stay on. I am a kind of a lone gunner in my house this weekend. My wife is out of town. My daughter is with my mom, and so it's just me. So I'm happy to hang out and answer questions and talk and chat if anybody has questions. But if not, I'm happy to go and work on other content for y'all or watch a show or something. Silo is a great show if you like sci-fi. Um, I know that that's not what these are all about, but I like I'm a big nerd and I like sci-fi stuff. So for those of you that want a little bit more kind of information about who I am and what I like sci-fi stuff. So I'm a big sci-fi nerd, and I like those things like Silos, the show that's on Apple TV. Um, but it's the second season just started coming out, and it's great. In addition, this really shows how much of a nerd I am. The Skeleton Crew, Star Wars Skeleton Crew on Disney Plus just started coming out. New episodes are on Tuesdays. It's really cool. So for those of you that have Disney Plus and are a Star Wars nerd, uh, check that out. The first two episodes are out. It's pretty cool. Uh, Something you could watch with your kids if you have kids. But I like it. My daughter's trying to get my daughter into it, but I like it. Anyways, so that's just a little bit about about me. Some things that I like. Um, but yeah, and of course, data engineering. I mean, I really do love data engineering, and it's like it's my way to help people. Like it's how I see it. It's my way. Data engineering for me is my way to help people, whether that be via mentoring, via like these sessions, or actually like in the work that I do. Um, Data engineering is my way of helping others. I could use the skills that I have and have developed over the years to help make people's lives more efficient, and so that they free up their time at work or in their business to do other things that they love. Uh, and I do that via doing something that I love. So it's a win-win for people most of the time. Uh, yeah, cool. Well, if anybody has any other comments, do think I'm just gonna hang out for a little bit, especially since I'm by myself this evening. Uh, Super excited that we are at 659 subscribers tonight. Had a couple of people join while we've been on this session. Uh, and so I am curious. I really want to. There is one video that I've done that really has done like super well, and I'm trying to figure out what is resonating with people about it. Um, so that I can, make sure that I'm putting out content that people are finding useful. But there's one video that I've done, and it is this becoming a data engineer in 2025 video, right? Why not to become a data engineer in 2025? Um, and I mean, it has 550 views, which is way more than most any other video that I've done. It has really done extraordinarily well. And I don't know. I'm not exactly sure. Um, so for those of you that are on that have maybe watched it and did find that one helpful or beneficial or enjoyed it, let me know what it is about it that that resonated with you. What is it about it that drew you in? You know, we got like 30 subscribers just from that video, and so it's kind of an outlier for me, and so it's a data point that I'm more interested to understand about, um, so that I could replicate that and make sure that again what so that I can make sure that whatever I'm doing in that video, maybe it's that I'm wearing my glasses instead of my contacts. And people are like, "Oh, he's smart. He's got glasses on." But maybe it's the longer goatee. Maybe it is the style in which I'm delivering the information. Um, maybe it's my excitement during the video. Whatever resonated with you, let me know. I really am curious as to what it is. I mean, 41 likes and several comments and 564 views in 3 weeks, which is huge for our channel. So just curious, just curious. Um, for those of you that are on that maybe haven't watched it yet, maybe go and check it out because clearly it's a winner. I don't I don't know why. I don't know why, but it is clearly a winner. Um, everybody's. I wonder if I stay on long enough if Fancy will show up. Um, let's see what else. It um, again, it did a couple of AI videos here lately. Um, one kind of talking through um, again, the one on Monday is the brainstorming session with ChatGPT. The one that I did earlier this week on Wednesday, released Wednesday, was about kind of how AI is changing the data engineering role and how it's there to kind of help us and what you could do to adapt as we move into 2025 by utilizing some of these AI tools. I've been with my newer consulting gigs, I've gotten a chance to get back into Databricks, which, if you've not used Databricks, you can get like a 90-day trial out there. It is one of my favorite tools because I could use Python and SQL and Scala and can flip back and forth in between all those within the same notebook. So I really enjoy it and gives me a chance to really get into PySpark and use PySpark again. But something that's new in there that wasn't in there when I used it a year ago is the AI autofill stuff, right? The Genie. I think it's called Genie. Um, but it does a pretty good job. It's not perfect, but it tries to predict what you're trying to do and does a pretty good job of doing that. It's not, again, not perfect. There's definitely been times when I've started typing and like it came up with some gobbledygook that was not at all what I was trying to do. But overall, probably 70% of the time, it auto-filled pretty accurately, and I just had to change a few things to make it what I wanted. Um, so it did a pretty good job. Um, trying to look and see what the name of it is. Just says assistant. Um, there's a Databricks assistant, and there's like it's like IntelliSense, but it's smarter than IntelliSense is. So, anyways, it's really cool. But those kind of AI integrated things, it's Snowflake has integrated AI in their tool in their UI. DBT has AI integrated in it. Um, understanding the limitations as well as the advantages of using those tools is important as we move forward into 2025. um, Talking about the fact that I've been doing this for 25 years and where we've come from and where we're going. Um, you know, when I first started doing this in 2000, 2000, um, when I started doing this in 2000, uh, there wasn't a whole lot of resources. There weren't. We didn't have AI for sure, right? We didn't have. Um, I don't even know if Stack Exchange was out there yet. We didn't have those tools. The internet itself was relatively young in terms of where it is now. And so we didn't have a lot of resources. There weren't a lot of boards on how to do things. It was going to the library. It was trial and error. It was talking to other people that had done it before and finding somebody that was a little bit smarter than you, that knew what the hell they were doing, and helping you through things. It was, getting people to ask you the right questions, um, so that you can adapt and learn. But it was I honestly I learned SQL by using Microsoft Access. I went into Microsoft Access, visually created my query, because you could drop in the tables, and you do this in SSMS and Azure Data Studio as well. But you could visually drop in the tables, create your join criteria, create your relationships between your tables, and then you could switch it to SQL, and you could see what SQL would type out. And that is years ago, 25 years ago, almost. um, how I taught myself SQL. I did it that way, flipped it to SQL in Microsoft Access, and read what it wrote, and then I learned to uh, adapt that and make it more complex over the years. And then I'm quickly moved from Access into SQL Server, where I spent most of my career. Um, but that's how we had to learn back in the day. Back in the day. Am I really that old? I'm using back in the day, but that's how we learned, and I trial and error and figuring it out. And so, having all these tools, learning to adapt over time, learning to ask the stupid questions about things just because you're young and ignorant and don't know things. We're all ignorant about certain things at certain times in our lives. um, and going out and Stack Exchange was a great resource for a long time. um, it can be a little people on there sometimes can be a little harsh with their answers. You know, the people on there sometimes call you out, which could be harsh sometimes. Um, and so but overall, it was a good resource. It's still a good resource. So Stack Exchange was great, and then now we have AI. Again, the the best the best learning is to never be the smartest in the room, and to always have somebody else that is at least a few steps ahead of you, so that you can have somebody else to learn from. Um, and making mistakes. um, I had a conversation with a great coworker of mine today, and we we laughed about it a little bit. But if if you don't have errors and things, if you're not making mistakes, if you're not breaking something, then you're probably not working. I mean, especially as a data engineer, as a programmer, if you're not breaking something, you're not working. Now, that doesn't mean that you're breaking something in production. Let me be real clear. Does not mean that you're breaking something in production. But if you've not if you're not making changes to things or creating things and breaking things and trying to make things better, you're not working, you're not learning, you're not progressing. Um, Mistakes are part of this work. Um, Errors are part of this work. Imposter syndrome is part of this work. Um, you know, if you don't know about imposter syndrome or you've not run across it, um, I'm gonna, hey, if you've not, imposter syndrome is big in tech. Um, let's say imposter syndrome in tech. Um, Imposter syndrome is big in tech, and it's rampant, and it's because part of it is because, especially for you know junior to mid-level career people in these professions, it's hard sometimes because seniors and staff level people um, sometimes can seem so out of reach for the skills that they have, because some senior people don't do a great job of admitting that they did something wrong, that they have an error, collaborating with juniors and with mid-level career people, that the coworkers that you know may be able to help them and admit their weakness, right? Over the years I've made so many mistakes, uh that I am I realize that it that mistakes are part of it. I still get imposter syndrome all the time, right? I still have instances where I'm like, why do I even know what I'm doing? Right? It like this morning with my conversation with Rich. It, you know, I uh, am the I we had the conversation of, I always take the approach that it's something that I've done that's wrong way before I ever look into whether or not the data was wrong, right? Our opinion, both my opinion and his opinion, is that that's the right approach to have, right? That's always kind of CYA, check and make sure that you didn't make a mistake um, before you go and blaming the data, is the right way to go. Um, and that is what will um, that's part of what will take you far in your career, is admitting that you make mistakes, admitting when you're wrong, admitting that you broke something, that you did something and you broke something, and it, and when you break something, it's what's going to trigger your imposter syndrome, because you're like, crap, I know better than this. Especially when you do something and somebody else looks at it and they're like, oh, you missed a comma here. Uh, because 60% of the time it's a comma that you miss somewhere, especially for SQL stuff. Um, so it's part of it. It just know that whether you are, you know, a week into learning data engineering, or 2.5 decades into it, you still have days and weeks where you're like, man, I am struggling. I do not understand this. Um, and again, the technology, the tools, the resources change so much and so frequently, and there's always something new going on. None of us know all the things all the time. None of us know, and some of it is science. I mean, some of it is art, more art than science, of making things maintainable, making things readable, making things easy to understand so that our successors understand how to fix things and how to adapt things to meet the future needs of the business. Um, it's those are skills and tools that are important as you move through your career. Um, I don't want to post something new. I'm trying to find the post that I posted earlier. Um, I posted something on LinkedIn that I just wanted to share. So yeah, there it is. Okay, so I posted this on LinkedIn earlier, and it just says guilty until proven innocent. If I do this, does it bring up the right thing? Um, but it says guilty until proven innocent. When something goes wrong, um, is your first thought that, oh, the data must be wrong, or is your first thought, crap, I've broken something and I need to go out and fix it, right? Um, and the example that I use in here is, it's probably been 10 years ago, but you know, I was pulling data from an Oracle database and combining it with a couple other tables in Snowflake. And um, I, in the data that I was pulling from Oracle, I didn't realize it, and I didn't do enough EDA, exploratory data analysis, to know that this was happening. But the field that I was joining on had some trailing spaces in some of the values, and so when I did my join, it worked some of the time. So I thought, okay, cool, right? The data's here. I see data coming in. Awesome. But it wasn't pulling all the data in, which made my query wrong, right? It made the downstream reports wrong because of the trailing spaces. That wasn't the data's fault. That wasn't necessarily the fault of the system putting the data, into that Oracle table. It was my fault for not doing enough exploratory data analysis and seeing that that was happening so that I could do a trim when I was importing that data and doing my pipeline when I was creating my ETL to pull that data so that it trimmed off those trailing spaces so that the join would work as expected, right? And so the lesson you learn, the lesson I learned, and sometimes the lesson that I continue to learn is to double check your logic, make sure you check for trailing spaces. Trailing spaces are one of those invisible diseases that happen in some systems, that you don't it are sometimes more difficult to see. And so validating your queries, be thorough, uh, and take ownership when you make a mistake. Um, so again, the approach not only helps you, but it will um, helps you to solve problems, and it kind of goes back to Parva's question about what you could do that will instantly um, build credibility with your managers. This is it, right? Humility and um, and trust is what this specific behavior builds. Uh, when you are making sure that you're kind of CYA, right? You're doing your exploratory data analysis. You are using this approach that you're guilty until proven innocent, as opposed to you're innocent and the data's guilty. Then that builds that credibility and trust with managers and with leadership, um, and shows that you're approachable and humble. Um, so it's an important skill to both have and demonstrate, as you go through things. So again, if anybody has any questions about data engineering, about imposter syndrome, about any of the things that we've covered tonight, let me know in the comments. Happy to talk through things. happy to share my 25 years of experience with you, so that you could learn from from my guilty, until proven innocent. So let me know what you got. Let me know what you think about the channel, especially since there's been so many new people to the channel here lately. I'm really genuinely interested in knowing what you think, what you like about the channel, what you don't like, what really has hit a chord for you. Um, Let me know in the comments. I love these live sessions. Again, we do them Friday nights, 10 p.m. Sometimes they last an hour, sometimes they last 2 hours, sometimes I get on a rant. Um, but they're live, and they're uh, as raw can be. So, and we go all kinds of different directions. And thank you. We've had a few people jump on the past few minutes. Thank you for jumping on, and excited that you're here with me, and hope that you get something valuable from the session and from the channel. Um, the thing that we talked about tonight were the 12 bad habits of data engineering that people demonstrate, that people kind of pick up along the way as they move through their career, and the opposite of those bad habits, which the 12 kind of good habits that go along with them, that you can work on kind of changing to and migrating to instead. But if anybody has any, I'm curious, what bad habits maybe do you feel like you're starting to pick up as you move into your data journey? Um, you know, one of the things that, one of the sequel bad habits that I talked about on one of my shorts was, people have a and this popped up on LinkedIn recently from a guy at Snowflake, was getting in the habit of using left joins all the time. Uh, that's something that I see people pick up all the time, especially people that are self-taught. Uh, you know, People have a tendency, especially self-taught. There's two things that you see self-taught people demonstrate that I did a lot. And that's use left joins, and that is use distinct for like everything. You just get in this habit of putting distinct in at the top, select distinct, like it's just a habit, and left join instead of just join or inner join. Um, and those two things absolutely kill the efficiency of your queries. Um, because distinct is constantly making sure that every record that gets returned is unique, and the left join has other things um, within the explanation of what it's doing, that it has to account for. It has to account for when things don't join and what it's going to do. It has to account for when things do join and what it's going to do. And so there's additional complexity and additional overhead that happens when in the background of in the SQL engine, when you're doing those types of joins. And so using inner joins and not using distinct will help with that. So I lost my 4 people that joined all at once, which was weird. Um, so those are things that sometimes bad habits that you pick up, bad habits that I had picked up early on in my career that I had to learn and change. And luckily, I had a mentor that was like, would always call me out on it and be like, "Hey, why'd you use distinct?" I'm like, "Oh crap, I did it again." Um, so So I've been blessed with a lot of great mentors in my career, and I would recommend finding one for sure. Uh, Helps with the imposter syndrome. Well, we're approaching an hour and a half, and I've got one poor person, I think maybe Parva, that has stuck on with me the almost full hour and a half. So I'm going to let you all go. Thank you all. Thank you, everybody, for coming on and asking your questions tonight and leaving your comments. I really do enjoy these Friday Night Lives, especially when we do get a bit of interaction. So thank you for jumping on, and I will talk to you all again next Friday. Thank you.